some attribute that you want, some characteristic that you would like to have. Think about that, and everybody stand up. Everybody have a characteristic, an attribute, something like that that you want more of. Yes? Okay. Put your hands out like this. Now in a moment, not just yet, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and we'll do this technique together. I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things, and when we're through with doing that, I'll have you do a mind meld. We're going to put everything together, mash it together, come up with a word that signifies success, you having that thing. I'll have you bend your knees and release that to the universe with your word, shouting out your word. You don't have to remember all that, I'll repeat it, but I just wanted you to know what was coming up, okay? Everybody got your attribute, your thought? Okay, put your hands out like this. Now, close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. Just let it go. And in one of your hands, place an animal that has that attribute, that characteristic. Think of an animal that has that. And place that animal in one of your hands. Observe that animal. How do you know that animal has that thing that you're looking for? How does it breathe? What's the look on its face? What is its action? What does it do? Really get in tune with that animal, with all of its God-given natural characteristics. And really notice how you know it has that thing that you want. Now put yourself in the other hand. Now look at yourself. And notice yourself in a very special way. Notice yourself with all of your God-given talents, all of the positives that you bring into the world, all of the things that you do have. Notice yourself at your best. Look at your animal that has that thing that you want. And now, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to bend your knees, mind meld the two together by mashing them together, and we'll release it into the universe with your word. Go ahead, bend your knees. Do the mind meld, bring you and the animal together, and jump up and release it to the universe with your word. Yell out your word. That's right. Let's do that again. Close your eyes, put your animal in one hand. Notice how you know the animal has that. Look at you. Bend your knees, mash them together, do the mind meld, and release it to the universe with your word. That's right. One more time. Put your animal in one hand. Put you in the other hand. Notice how you know that animal has it. Notice how you're growing in that attribute already. Bend your knees, meld the two together, and release it to the universe with your word. That's right. Taking a nice deep breath. And notice how good that feels. Have a seat. I call that a metaphoric mind meld. Some people call it the animal swish. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's a technique that you can use for almost anything. So Janice, you didn't get to do that with us before. How was that for you?
That was very good. That was, it has an element of playfulness to it that makes it fun to do. And so it's easy. Yeah,
an element of playfulness that makes it fun and easy. Woohoo! Was anybody hypnotized?
Oh, no.
And I want you to know the advanced techniques that we used at that moment. I didn't know what you were going for. Janice, can we pick your brain? What were you going for?
I wanted to be more of a people person.
You wanted to be more of a people person. Hold on. Karen, what animal is a people person?
I don't know. Let me think. A kitten.
A kitten. Maureen, what's a people person animal?
A dog.
A dog. Janice, a dog. What kind of dog?
At first I went with a horse, and then I thought, no. So that was a dog. It was kind of a brown, medium-sized, mixed carrier type dog.
And how did you know the dog was a people person? What did it do to let you know that?
It wagged its tail.
What can you borrow from what you were witnessing that let you know it was a people person? That'll let people know. Is there anything else that you can borrow?
A sense of eagerness.
Yeah, how cool is that? And when you want to be, when when you're at home in bed, you don't want to be a people person. But when you're out at an event and you want to be a people person, I wonder what might happen if you just think of that brown dog and take on some of those characteristics. Take on the characteristics. Would that help you at all?
I think it might.
Notice that Karen came up with a kitten, right? For her, that might be the animal she chooses. We don't get to impose the animal because we don't know. We don't know what you might find people-pleasing. We don't know what you're going to see in that animal that you're going to borrow the benefits from. Does that make sense? So one of the things we did was you came up with an intended outcome, a desired outcome. Janice, because she's letting us share this, Janice's desired outcome is to be more of a people person. That's all she needed to know to do this work. Okay, that's what you want. We know your desired outcome. Come up with an animal that already has that characteristic. Put them in your hands out here. Now we're practicing dissociation and modeling. Because now we've taken everything that you're thinking about out of your head and put it right here in front of you, on your hands. Your eyes are closed, but metaphorically you're still with me, right? But it's not in your head anymore. Now it's out here and you're observing it. Does that make sense, Lauren? Okay. And then you're watching the animal. How do you know it's got that? Well, Janice told us it shakes its booty and, it's smiling and it's eager and it pulls you in. And I asked her, how does that translate to you? And she said, well, I could be more open or be more eager or whatever it was that you saw from that. Does that make sense? So she has a model of behavior that she can go, oh, if I walk in like that, it will draw more people to me. So now she also has a post-hypnotic suggestion that she can take with her wherever she wants to go. Because she can always now tap into that lovely, brown, people-pleasing dog. Make sense to you? What'd you want?
Boundaries.
And what animal did you choose?
Armadillo.
Armadillo. Is that the one you'd have come up with? I'd have come up with a pit bull. Which is my point. We don't get to say what we believe might be worthwhile.
Right.
All we do is say, what do you want? Come up with an animal that has that. Observe the animal. How do you know it has it? In order to answer that question, that's human behavior to answer questions, in order to answer the question, you had to, in your mind, notice the animal. Well, what does it do? Oh, it wags its tail. It's like the leash, it's pulling you in. She had a whole complete description of it, right? That's hypnosis. And then she did her own work. She melded them together and can figure out what of that she can take into a place where she wants to be more of a people person. What can you borrow from the armadillo?
Just a sense of containment and separation.
Okay. Boy, it does have a shell that separates. Yeah. And so I don't know what you might want to do with it. And I am definitely not, this is not a suggestion. I'm not imposing this. I'm just taking this a little further. I might be curious about when you might want to put a shell around yourself, when you might want to have that barrier around yourself. Do you have an idea of when that might be?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something you can share with us?
Well, yeah, just like when I'm feeling like a little overloaded with people and I need to just have my own space.
Isn't that interesting? I had a mother that I needed some space from once in a while, right? My mother loved to be helpful, and in her help, she often said the worst possible things she could say, right? She didn't necessarily mean to, she just did. And I lived 850 miles away from my mom, but went home for holidays and things like that. And it was always a little uncomfortable because I knew that, oh my God, it's going to happen again. I'm going to be 6 again. She's going to say that stuff to me again. What can I do? So I constructed for myself a tube. Toilet paper tube, paper towel tube, something like that, that I lived inside of. And inside of my tube, it was plush, and it was wonderful, and it was comfortable, and it was everything that I wanted. And on the outside of my tube, I put mirrors that look out. And so every time my mother said something to me, it hit my mirrors and bounced right back onto her where it belonged and didn't penetrate my tube. Now that's my metaphor. I'm not sure that that's going to work for you, but boy, do you have an armadillo with a shell. And can you apply a shell around yourself whenever you need it the most? How cool would that be? So you gather that information. Then what I did was I capitalized on that by telling a story, which just happened to be a true story, but it doesn't even have to be a true story. I added something to that, embellished it a little bit, and asked how that might work. And if we were really in a session, I would say, now what might you do? And she would feed it all back to me, and now we're rehearsing. We're rehearsing how to make that happen. And it's all in conversation. Now the change has already been made. She can't unsee that armadillo, right? You can't ever unsee that. You've already had that thought. It's already in your imagination. And the more we play with it, the deeper we go into that, the more you take that into your future, the stronger it becomes. Very simple technique. So I put the handouts up here, by the way, Janice, if you want them. You can get that script in a handout, along with another great little story and some other stuff, if you just want to take that for later on. That was from the keynote. Okay, and you can get the script stuff. Anybody else who wants that can get it too. That was a way to get you energized, get you out of that lunch trance and get you back into the learning trance, right? Pro tip, in the morning, if you have a class first thing in the morning, engage the audience. Don't have them do an eyes closed meditation right off the bat.
Yeah, you're losing them.
That's exactly right, and it'll be forever getting them back. Right after lunch, don't do an eyes closed thing. Do something that's standing up, because you've got all this food, you're tired, you want to re-engage. So if you're doing groups, think about that. You've got to keep that group engaged.